Kalkwa'olap and Shnuknukwa. Jennifer McEwen and Squatchicha. Haklop Miskan. Statlium. As a child, my mom was a single parent, and she's the one that raised us, and there was 7 of us. My mom started drinking quite a bit, and she would leave us with babysitters. My cousin that she took in, I think I might have been 5 or 6 when he sexually abused me. And I remember it very clearly. When I first started remembering it, I thought it was just a dream. I went to the residential school when I was in kindergarten. I used to cry for my mom. I felt alone there, being called a dirty Indian, stupid Indian, a squaw, not only from the students, but from the teachers. I remember I used to go down by the field, and I used to look up in the sky. I used to lay there, and I used to just wonder about God. I think I was very lonely and very hurt. Little girl, hardly even spoke a word to anybody. And I remember I used to cry and ask God, show me who I am. Like, I want to be okay with who I am as a Hachlop Statlium woman, because all my years of going to school and people calling me all these names, or sometimes not even calling me, they'd look at me and kind of look at me with disgust, or kind of move away from me, like that kind of stuff. And that brought me a lot of low self-esteem. Once the residential school closed down, they gave us the option to go and board out. I didn't want to go back home, so I went and boarded out. And because the residential school was so structured, I had like all this freedom, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I started smoking cigarettes. I started using marijuana. I started drinking. I started sleeping with guys. Wasn't going to school, but I was aware that it was wrong, and I didn't care. I was rebellious, and keeping it all inside and not being able to talk to anybody, I think, is why I was rebellious. I met my girls' dad, I think I was 14. I started drinking with him, and next thing I knew, I was pregnant at 14. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. And I know there's no mistakes. So I moved to Clinton with him. We had 2 daughters, but we used to drink so much, basically kind of live for the weekend. I used to leave my girls with whoever, and I think about that now, and I'm ashamed of doing that. I wanted to go home. I left my girls ended up going with their dad. My older son ended up staying with his dad. I moved back to Lilwet, where I never really wanted to be. I'm a runner, and I didn't want to go back to where a lot of the pain was. So I moved back there, and because I chose to move back to Lilwet, I did a lot of drinking. I think I was partying for just about 3 years straight, because the alcohol wasn't soothing the pain anymore. And I was becoming a very, very angry drunk. I was going around looking for arguments with guys that almost had the same build as my offender. It was like a loaded gun going around there saying whatever I wanted to anybody. Because I was so angry, and it wasn't working, it wasn't hiding the pain anymore, drowning it out. So people were starting to use coke, and I'd watch my boyfriend do it, and well, not very long, guess who was trying it out? Me. And it gave me this different feeling of confidence that I've never really had. And I didn't feel that sadness, that loneliness, that all that pain. I didn't feel that. but my mom started actually following me around in the bar and started telling me, I'll drive you wherever you want to go, I'll drive you, because I was starting to drink and drive. And she kept doing that every weekend. Finally, that one time I was walking away and then it just went bang like that in my head, and I'm like, oh, she does care, because I never thought that she cared about me. And that was kind of the start of me, I think, turning around. And she used to come and try and encourage me to go to the women's group. She kept bugging me, so finally I gave in one time and I went to the group. It was a place of learning to be vulnerable, learning and trusting to talk about and what happened, and about my abandonment issues with my dad. And all I ever wanted was my dad when I was younger. I decided, and after New Year's, going to be my last day to drink, I decided I was going to quit drinking. So January 4th, 1994 is when I quit drinking. I went to the Lowett Friendship Center to visit my mom at work, and my sister, Babe, was there. And then she said, could I help you with something? And then I go, no. And then I was just walking out, and then all of a sudden I just stopped and turned around, and I'm like, well, and she goes, what? And then I said, well, could you help me to understand why Jesus had to die on the cross? And I told her that I knew about God, but I don't quite understand why he had to die. And my sister explained it to me. We're talking for quite a while, and I know I asked some more questions, and she asked if I'm ready to ask Jesus into my heart. I looked at her and I go, no. I said, what's going to happen to my family if they don't ask Jesus into their heart? She looked at me and she said, what do you think is going to happen? And I started crying right away, because I already knew. And I said that they would go to hell. And none of my family, my sisters or my mom, knew the Lord or were following him. And why do I want to go there if my family's not going to be there? And she said, well, why don't you be the way maker? If you come, they'll start coming. And remember to ask God, Jesus, to bring your family. And finally I made the decision to ask Jesus into my heart. And I go, what do I do? And my sister says, you ask God for forgiveness for all your sins. And I'm like, all my sins? You know how much that is? That's a great big long list. And she goes, we'll just start with one and then just keep going. And so she started me off in prayer, and I remember just talking about my alcohol, my drugs, my sleeping around, and my swearing, any little thing that I could think of. And I was just like so relieved. I could feel God, Jesus, come into my heart. And at the end I said, remember to bring my family to Jesus. And that's still my prayer today. I love my family so much. I want them to know that the freedom that they could have in Jesus, what he could do for their life. It was like a total weight lifted off of my heart, off of my shoulders, off of my mind. And my sister and brother got me a Bible, and I used to pack it with me everywhere I go. Packed it to work, and I'd be reading it at lunchtime. And after coming to the Lord, my sister got me into working for him right away. I'm like, okay, Lord, whatever you want me to do, wherever you want me to go, whatever it is, just let me know. And those are pretty kind of scary things to say, because you don't know what he's going to get you to do. My name is Jennifer McEwen, and this is my story.